Reya El-Salahi.
BBC Radio Nottingham.
Now, a laid-back skateboarding rodent with dreadlocks may sound like the most unlikely TV superhero you can imagine. But Rastamouse is proving a hit with children and some adults too. Now, if you've not heard of him before, Rastamouse is the star of a brand new TV programme on the BBC children's channel CBeebies, but he's also attracted a fair amount of criticism too. Jane Prendergast reports.
Rastamouse made his debut on CBeebies at the end of last month. He's a cute character who plays in an all-rodent reggae band. His mission, to make a bad thing good. He's the creation of Michael de Souza, who initially wrote a poem and then a book about him, with illustrator Genevieve Webster.
The mouse character was very much inspired by Michael and his wisdom and positive messages that he teaches children. And I'd worked in children's publishing, and then we ended up working together and writing together. And we knew there was something special about the character, and he deserved a proper story. And we wanted to have a proper story that an adult would engage with as well as a child.
But the programme's caused a storm in some areas. Levi Roots, who's best known for his Caribbean cooking sauce, was asked to provide a voice for the character, but is reported as saying he wouldn't want to portray a Rastafarian as a mouse, and he wouldn't want his children to watch the programme. Psychologist Delroy Constantine Sims has written in the Voice newspaper that the programme is nothing more than the covert perpetuation of a negative ideology. Michael de Souza says he's saddened by the criticism.
It does make me sad, there's no doubt. We've been going to schools, since we published the books, we've been going to schools. We've visited hundreds of schools and seen thousands of children. One of the things that the children really love, and it fascinates them, is the language. It's very exciting for them, it's very, very different, and it's very real.
Me name's Bagga T, Bagga Trouble, Double G. Thanks, cuz, for helping the orphans and me. The party gonna be bright. We're gonna rock this camping site when the crew jam here tomorrow night.
Despite the controversy, the programme's been sold abroad and a music deal has been signed. Genevieve Webster says the sound of Rastamouse is a key feature.
One of the majorly important things of the show is the music, and EMI have invested in the show, and we've already brought out a single and hopefully an album to follow.
Well, as that report implied, despite the success, there has been some criticism too. Now, the writers of Rastamouse books, Michael de Souza and Genevieve Webster, were invited to take part in a live interview here on BBC Radio Nottingham this afternoon, but declined due to family commitments. Now, Helen Bart spoke to psychologist Delroy Constantine Sims after he wrote an article in black newspaper The Voice criticising the children's cartoon. He's a Rastafarian and a critic of the children's show, and spoke to Helen Bart to explain why he found it so objectionable.
My major objection is the fact that they've associated a religion with a rodent. No other community, no other ethnic group has any character, cartoon or animation which is suffixed by a religion or ethnic group. Totally ridiculous, totally wrong, and totally unacceptable.
Delroy, you're a Rasta, I understand.
I am, yes.
So this appears to have caused you a huge amount of offence. The writers, one of them is a Rasta.
It's immaterial whether the person is a Rasta, black, green or white. The fact of the matter, he's chosen to represent a rodent as part of my community. That is so wrong. He should be more responsible and taken on board that the major feature of Rastafarianism is a lion, not a rodent. The argument you could use that other characters have used rodents and have been very successful, Mickey Mouse, Danger Mouse, but my problem is this, that you've introduced a relationship between Rasta and a rodent, which was not there until Rastamouse came into fruition.
It's just a fictional character, though, Delroy. It's a cartoon.
The thing is, a lot of things are fictional, but you know what? It sows the seeds of representation. It sows the seeds of stereotypes. The mere fact that Rasta is real and a mouse is real, it doesn't take long for that child to grow up and associate those features with something real.
I mean, it has to be said, a great deal of black parents do love this cartoon, have been supporting it, and alongside a lot of white parents as well. You know, there are lots of things about it which are quite revolutionary, you could say. It's the first ever cartoon to almost be entirely voiced in the patois style dialect. I mean, that in itself is something that you've never seen before. And it could be argued that the stories, the fact that they're fighting crime, are quite positive. They're saying good things about the community. Is it just purely the fact that it's a rat, it's a mouse, that
exactly.
you do not like?
Thank you. That's the major problem I have. They're using a rodent. The BBC has got some talented writers, some talented performers, and a lot of talented authors out there who the BBC could have called on to use another figure besides a rat. They could have used an animated individual like Paul.
But can I just say, you seem to be confusing the BBC with the writers. The BBC have
I
only...
I stand corrected.
Yeah, the BBC have purely dramatised the books which had already been written. I remember seeing the book in a shop at least 4 years ago. So the BBC have just turned it into a cartoon, but these books had already been written.
I absolutely agree with you, but see, the thing is, all of a sudden now they've decided to capitulate, and of course, okay, let them have Rastamouse.
I do have to defend the BBC here.
Of
I mean,
course.
you know, you use the word capitulate. That sort of suggests that they were beaten down by the people behind this character. The fact of the matter is this is a series of books which have become extraordinarily successful, written by a Rasta man himself and illustrated by a black illustrator. So the two of them collaborated and created this character, Rastamouse. The books have been successful, and the BBC, or the production company commissioned by the BBC, have then gone to animate a cartoon. It is not the BBC's fault. The BBC have not done anything wrong by introducing this.
I understand the process.
I mean, surely if you have anger about Rastamouse, it should be directed towards the actual creators of the character.
If the truth is said, all your comments are fair comments, but at the same time, the BBC could have been more responsible and looked at the consequences of their action. What I will say to you is this, Science, just because something's popular doesn't make it right. Just because the author is a Rasta and just because he's black, it doesn't mitigate or excuse the fact that he's made an error of judgment here. And I stand by that. And the reason I stand by that, because being a Rasta, I'm sure he could have chosen a line, but why should we jump on the rodent bandwagon to actually use that as a representation of us? No, I think he should have been more innovative, been more thoughtful, and more respectful of the religion which he supposedly represents.
Delroy Constantine Sims speaking to Helen Bartz. Now, the writers of Rastamouse books, Michael D'Souza and Genevieve Webster, were invited to take part in a live interview here on BBC Radio Nottingham this afternoon, but declined due to family commitments. Usually, as you know, I am never one to hold back on my thoughts, but I'm really not sure what I think about this one. Now, on the one hand, it's great to have something so unique and different representing a section of our society all too often ignored. But then on the other hand, depicting any minority group as a rodent is bound to draw criticism. Well, one person who knows exactly what they think about this is Nottingham Rastafarian writer and poet Panya Banjoka, who joins me now. Panya, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So is this an offensive representation of Rastafarianism?
I'm quite saddened by all the negative press this creation has got, to be honest with you, because for me it is just a fictional character, and I can't understand why people are reading so deeply into something that's really quite wonderful and quite beautiful in the way it portrays diversity. So, you know, I'm still kind of struggling to get my head around why people are so against it.
Well, just a moment ago we heard from a Rastafarian psychologist who argued that the depiction of a Rastafarian as a rodent is in itself offensive. Is that something you agree with?
For me, it's just a fictional character. So, you know, I can't look at this piece of fantasy and then equate that to reality. It's just a fictional character. It's somebody using their creativity and thinking outside the box. You know, how predictable it would be to have a lion. Does that mean me as a Rastafarian, I can only create particular things? You know, I have to put my creativity within a box. To me, that's what it's saying as a creative person, that this individual who's created this wonderful story for lots of children to engage with, that brings the patois dialect into a broader community. You know, all these wonderful things. I can't understand why there is an issue and why we can't think broader, why we always kind of pinholing ourselves in particular pegs.
Well, as you mentioned there, the patois-speaking Rastamouse character isn't actually voiced by a Jamaican actor. It's voiced by Reggie Yates, who, as I'm sure you know, is of Ghanaian descent. Is that in itself a problem, that you're bringing patois to a mainstream audience, but it's being voiced by somebody who doesn't speak that at home?
For me, again, no, it's not an issue at all. I don't think Rastamouse is saying he's particularly from Jamaica, so I don't think it necessarily has to be a Jamaican person that does the voiceover. So for me, that's not an issue at all. No.
Are we being too touchy about this? Is it kind of all too jumping against what's happening and saying, oh no, I'm terrified that something like this is going to be on the TV and people are going to take it that all Rastafarians are like Rastamouse? Are we being too touchy?
I think we are. I think we should just take it for what it is. It's a piece of animation. It's a story, beginning, middle, and end. It's entertaining, and take the positives, embrace the positives from it, and stop kind of delving into the negative. Look at the good aspects of how it's bringing another culture into people's homes. And if it does raise any issues, then there's points there that you can actually engage in discussion, because sometimes that's what we need. So do you know what I mean? You can look at it in a positive way rather than looking at it in a negative way.
Sure. I mean, I was reading through some of the complaints, and one of the ones that really stood out to me was from a white English mum who said that she worried that by watching Rastamouse, her children would pick up patois and perhaps offend other children by speaking or attempting to speak patois in school. Now, as a mother yourself, can you sympathise with some parents who say that they don't want their young children watching a programme like this because it might confuse them?
Again, if you look at CBBCs, you'll see there's lots of different programs on. There's characters that do Italian accents, there's characters that do lots of different accents, and doing a Caribbean accent is no different. You know, people, or even the adverts, people are always going like, you know, that one, Simples, and making fun of Eastern European accents. So for me, it's no different. It's no different to that. And if there are any issues, then people can discuss these issues, or if it raises anything, then, you know, if this woman has a fear, why should her fear affect, you know, this book being a wonderful creation?
Well, despite the criticisms, I think by the sounds of it, you're in 100% agreement that Britain's African and Caribbean communities should be happy that children are being exposed to reggae music, to Rastafarianism, albeit by a guitar-playing, cheese-loving rodent.
Yeah, I think so. You know, because I'm a writer myself, and I'd like to know that whatever I create, you know, I'd love the success of Michael. I really would. Do you know what I mean? And they're going to be producing a song from it, and hopefully an album. It's a wonderful opportunity for somebody in the black community to get some success. You know, I'm just wondering if this is a bit of that crab in the barrel situation where we never like to see anybody doing well. So we always kind of look at the negative than the positive.
Interesting point. Tanya, thank you so much for joining us on BBC Radio Nottingham.
No problem.
Can we expect to see a Nottingham Rastamouse character being created by yourself?
Well, I've actually created a little Sikh boy character, a story called Harry at the Castle, and that's on sale at the Castle now. And on Wednesday I'll be launching it from 12:30 to 2:30, so people can come along. And I wonder if they'll be saying, as a Rastafarian, I shouldn't be writing about a Sikh character.
That's a whole nother discussion, Tanya. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you.
So, Rastamouse, the discussion, racist, or are we all just being a bit too touchy? As I said, I really don't know what I think about this one. I haven't really made my mind up, but to be honest, having watched it, I was smiling. And I just think it's nice to have a bit of a variety for children to watch. And to be honest, quite a few adults too.
When you call 0115 934 3434. When you text 81333 and start your message with the word NOT.